topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Connected Table Live. We're your hosts, Melanie Young and David Ransom, your insatiably curious culinary couple. We love to bring you the amazing people we meet, places we visit, wines we sip, and foods we taste around the world as we travel, and sharing with you, our listeners and followers, on YouTube and 65 podcast channels. We hope it inspires you to step out of your comfort zone and explore the world with us, because we love what we do. And more importantly, we love sharing it with you.
We sure do.
Yeah, we really do. So you're probably wondering what this spectacular image is in the screen behind us for our viewers. And I'll describe it. It is vineyards, very steep vineyards around on a plateau around mountains facing the Gulf of Corinth. They call it the Corinthian Gulf in the northern Peloponnese of Greece. It's about a 2-hour drive north of Athens. And it is really stunning, right?
It's west of Athens.
North and west. Okay, west. So we recently visited there. We were planning a trip to Greece to go to a wedding. And we, of course, had to go see the wine region. And we asked our dear colleague who we've known for years, Sophia Purpura, who is with the Greek Wine Federation, what she would recommend. And she suggested 2 areas of the Peloponnese because we wanted to stay in the Peloponnese, close to Athens. And we had the choice of going to very well-known regions, Nemea and Pantanea. And then we decided instead to go to the PGI Slopes of Aigialeia, also Aigialeia, which is this mountainous area, less known as the PGI. It's not where package tours go.
No, definitely not.
And that's another appeal to us because we were in Greece right after July 4th, and it is hot and high season, and there are a lot of package wine tours. So we went in what we call the road less traveled, and frankly, it made all the difference.
It did. Yeah, it's such a great time. You know, it's a region that's a very large region, but it's very few wineries within it.
5.
So there's, in this particular region we visited, there were only 5 wineries. We hit 60% of them. So we hit 3. And it was a fascinating trip. It's a rugged region right on the Gulf, but the elevation of the vineyards is almost 3,000 feet. So it gets very high very quickly off the Gulf up into the mountains. And that's what makes this region so interesting, I think.
So the vineyards here practice what a term we learned when we were in Tuscany called heroic viticulture. Yeah. Heroic viticulture, defined by the organization that certifies it, is isolated regions where vineyards are planted at very high altitude, above 3,000 meters, 3,000 feet, 1,600 meters. The vineyards are very steep, often terraced, planted in poor soils. It's rugged conditions, difficult, isolated, steep, and often surprisingly optimum for producing amazing grapes, as we discovered. This area is an area that has, like much of Greece, been impacted by wars, famine, drought. One of the interesting things we learned is, in addition to these vines being on very steep mountains and plateaus, many of them are north-facing, which is unusual for the area in Greece. And the vast, much bigger than I expected, Gulf of Corinth provides this moderating impact from the sea, and you've got the mountain breezes. So it's really, for Greece, a cooler area in the Peloponnese. We didn't go to northern Greece, but this is an amazing area and definitely worth spending a couple of days.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, it's interesting because the mountains really go right up to the coast of the Gulf of Corinth. So it's a very extreme elevation gain
quickly
as you get off the coast where the lemon trees all are, and whatnot. So there's a lot of lemon orchards and things like
Mhm.
that down there, and different things grown, and tomatoes as well. But once you get off the coast, which is literally in about 100 yards, it's quite steep, going up to really about 1,000 meters, which is where the vines all are. And it can happen in less than 5 miles. So from 0 to 3,000 feet in less than 5 miles.
Actually, we rented a car, and
Yeah.
if you're going, we do rent a car, because there is a train, but you want to rent a car because along the way you can stop in the ancient city of Corinth and see some amazing ruins that have less crowds than the Parthenon.
Exactly.
And yes, while there are
And
package
just as
tours,
interesting.
and just as interesting, while there are package tours to Corinth, again, they don't tend to have as many. So we were there in high season, and it was not crowded. Loved it. It's just a stunning drive. And I think one of the things you and I both commented is how the steep, rocky cliffs and mountains just jutted up against the highway.
True.
And then on the other side was the water.
Yeah. And actually, the Gulf of Corinth is one of the deepest bodies of water in the Mediterranean basin. So that in its own right has a certain effect on the growing of the vines at 3,000 feet too.
Well, you could call
Because
it
it
a
helps-
sea effect
it helps-
versus
help-
a lake effect.
Helps moderate the temperatures
Yeah.
up on the top and down below.
Right. Stunning area. And we are so glad we went. So as we said, there are five wineries. There are also other things to do there. A quick little history. This area has, like much of Greece, been impacted economically. One of the things we noticed, we stayed at a hotel called the Mario Suites, owned by one of the wineries we visited, Mega Spileo. The region around it was a little poor, with a lot of what we call emptied, bombed out buildings. And we were like, what's going on? And we learned that this area, back when there was phylloxera in Greece, there was a big raisin industry. Tell me if I've got this right or wrong.
But before phylloxera.
Yeah, before phylloxera, there was the black raisins of Corinth.
Yeah.
Are a specialty of this area, and they were being used when the grapevines were in had been affected by the blight.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of, it's called the Black Corinth grape.
Right.
And there's still a lot of it's Black of Corinth.
Black of Corinth
So-
grape. Right.
So there's still a tremendous amount of it grown. We could barely touch on the surface of how much vineyards there are
Mhm.
that grow Black of Corinth, which are raisin grapes.
Correct.
But there's very little wine grapes in that particular region.
Mhm.
So, and they also grow at different elevations. So the Black of Corinth grape that brings basically what we in the United States would call currants.
Yeah.
Which, because they're very small black raisins, currants to market. Those are at a lower elevation than the grapes that make wine, which are much higher in elevation. It's an interesting kind of situation there.
So this industry used to flourish, but as demand changed, and they're still used in traditional pastries, as we learned when we tasted, but the industry died out. But more importantly, this area in Aegio used to be a big port in the Gulf of
Right,
Corinth.
and it's not the industry that died out, because that's still going strong.
Right,
it's,
but the
it's-
demand.
It's the area that was gathered died out. So when after World War II, the bulk of the shipping from the region moved to Patra, which is further along the coast, where the Gulf of Corinth opens up to the Aegean
Right.
and the
And it's a
Adriatic
major
Sea.
port.
And that is a major port. So the need for it in Aio, which is where we stayed, fell away, and it's kind of fallen on hard times.
Still, though,
Needless to
it's a
say.
great base for exploring Aigialeia, and there's some wonderful seaside restaurants and resorts further on down, because we were taken to lunch at one of them. It was fabulous. And interesting, this little town is even though it's a little hard scrabble, had some very good little restaurants and bars, because we tried them. And the Mario Suites was a nice place to base.
Yeah.
Now, we visited 3 of those 5 wineries, and we're going to talk about each of them and why you should visit them. They all welcome visitors. They all have distribution in the United States. The first thing we're going to talk about is Rouvalis. And we will have Theodora Rouvalis on our show later in the year. Rouvalis Winery was founded in 1990 by Angelo Rouvalis. He is considered a pioneer in Greek modern winemaking. He worked in Bordeaux. He has a French wife. I think Bordeaux mainly, maybe Burgundy, but I know his daughter worked in Burgundy. His daughter, Theodora Rouvalis, now runs the winery with her partner, Antonio Ruiz Piñego. They're both enologists.
Yeah, and they actually met in Spain.
Right.
When she was doing an internship in Spain, and they met, and they're now partners together, and actually have a child together as well.
Yes, and between them, between Antonio and Theodora, they've worked. They did their work in Bordeaux, Burgundy, Alsace, New Zealand, and Chile, and now they're back in Aigialeia, and they are an impressive partnership. We spent time with both, but Theodora picked us up. She insisted because she said these vineyards are so high, I don't want you to drive. And I'm frankly really glad she did, because there were a lot of switchbacks.
We never would have found it.
We never would have found it. So she took us to, I think, 3 different vineyards. Yeah. The highest being 1,200 meters, a little over 3,900 feet. Terraced sleep. I think the highest they grow. It's interesting. They grow indigenous and international varieties, and they're big on, at this particular winery, Riesling.
Well, it's a passion of Theodora's,
right?
So they don't make much of it, and I don't think anybody else in the region grows it. No. But she liked it, and it's a personal passion of hers. So she wanted to plant some and see how it happened, see how it worked, and it works pretty well.
And we're seeing, in each of the 3 wineries that we visited, they all were experimenting with international varieties, and all in a special way, which we'll talk about. The main grapes here, Roditis. Roditis is a white grape. It's one of the most widely planted white grapes in Greece, we learned. And what was interesting at Rouvalis, and we have our tasting notes up on the screen, but I don't want to go back and forth. They have different renditions of it. One is a Roditis, one, their best-selling one. Asphaliti is a blend of different Roditis grapes from different vineyards. And then they have one that's a single vineyard. And what was interesting about that, we had a long conversation in the vineyards about the nuanced tastes and identifying single vineyard versus a blended monovarietal. And it came to me, David. I also tasted it with the Mavro Daphne, which they call the Sigillo. It came to me in the tasting.
Another grape that grows. They grow a lot of in the Peloponnese and in that region.
Right. So we'll so just to finish on the understanding of the difference in the mouth was so apparent at that tasting. It was like an aha moment for me. Yes, the other grape is it's known as Mavro Daphne, which means black laurel, but because Mavro Daphne to Patras is a special PDO wine, they really aren't supposed to be using it elsewhere. So at Rouvalis, they call it Sigillo.
Yes, they call it Sigillo, which is how they have to actually label it, or they can label it whatever they want as long as they don't put Mavro Daphne on the label. Correct. Because there is a specific designated region that makes a very sweet version of Mavro Daphne, which is a red grape, by the way, and that is owned by that region, so nobody else can actually call the wine that. So it's protected. Yeah, it's a PDO. So they do make a couple of wines from Mavro Daphne, which is very widely planted in the area, and in Greece for that matter. It's really one of Greece's top red wines. However, they call it something else. And we've tasted a number of versions of it from the 3 wineries that we've visited, and and they range in style a lot, but lovely wine, just a lovely wine.
Yeah. So Rouvalis is imported in the United States by BOS Selections. We had Victor Owen Schwartz on this show. I thank him for also reaching out. I mean, it was a wonderful visit. We tasted about 14 wines, including several versions of Sigillo and Roditis, both blended from different vineyards and also single vineyard. Very interesting. We tasted a very nice single vineyard Chardonnay. They have a single vineyard line in addition to and a couple of Rieslings. There was also one called Lagorthy, made from the Lagorthy grape, which means wild rabbit. Another grape that I had never tasted. That was interesting, and it was aged Cerulean and Amphora. Yeah,
this was actually basically an orange wine. It was amphora aged and had over 20 days of skin contact. So it was interesting. It was a very interesting one. I like the range of styles that Rouvalis had. For me, they make a bunch of different wines. I think we tasted about 15 overall while we were at the winery, and they have the more commercially available that they actually sell in supermarkets and things like that in Greece. You don't
Right.
get much of that outside the U.S. They send their higher end wines outside the U.S. Or outside Greece. But I thought all the wines were well made, first of all, but I thought the range of wines that they made really showed the full complement of what is grown in that area and really what can be created in that area. Because they did stainless steel, they did oak, they did amphora, they did pretty much all of it, and they also did some wonderful sweet wines and or after dinner dessert style wines, and and all of it grows well in that area.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, the renditions, the different characteristics of Roditas really came out, and that's the bottle we brought home. I had not really had a lot of Roditas. We've been drinking a lot of Malvasia and Assyrtiko when we were in Hydra beforehand, but this was like an eye-opening palate experience for me, because this is, for us, our first wine. It was not intended to be a wine trip. We were going for a wedding, but we turned part of it into a wine trip because that's what we do. And it was a great experience, all in all. And I'm glad we did it. The sweet wine you were referring to is called Kitanitsa, and it's a white Pasito style grape. And it was lovely. I don't think you can get it in the United States. It was a lovely sweet wine.
Yeah.
Is this area, there's some sweet wines, and of course, as you said, Mavro Daphne de Patras is the PDO sweet wine of this area, and we did not go there. But what we didn't taste a lot of are sparkling wines, because it's not a cool climate, but we did, and we'll get to it in our third winery. So that is Rouvalis. We're going to be interviewing Theodore Rouvalis later on down the road, but they welcome visitors, and we highly recommend it. The second winery was kind of really different.
Yeah.
And if you love minimal intervention, you're going to love this winery. And I thought the wines were masterfully made. I'll let you say the name of it.
It's Tetramythos. Tetra as in earth, and then mythos.
Yeah. So
mythos.
mythical earth.
Yeah.
Mythical earth.
Yeah. So Tetramythos is the name of the winery, and it's owned by a couple of brothers, and then they have a really an amazing winemaker who was I thought he was very soulful as he was talking to us
very
about
cerebral,
and the wines that he made. And he took us through all the wines that he makes.
So the enologist is
They were
also a
just
partner.
wonderful. Yeah.
So the brothers are Aristos and Stathis Spanos. They grew up in the area, and they got the land in 1994. They planted, and they partnered with enologist Panagiotis Papagiannopoulos, and kept replanting. So Panagiotis led us through the tasting. As you see, he's a soft-spoken man and very cerebral. And the wines are thoughtfully made. We didn't visit any vineyards. Their vineyards are elsewhere.
But we drove by them. They're all in the same area, and I think the one mesa that we visited with Theodora, they also Tetramythos also has wines on that on the top of that mesa, which was.
I think that's a good point. Is when you visit these wineries, you're going to go to the wineries, but you're not necessarily going to see all the vineyards, because the vineyards are way the heck out there on slopes and plains and mesas and way out there, and not great for driving unless someone's driving you.
Well, you also don't know how to get up there, because to drive up the road and see some vineyards on the side of the road is one thing, and we definitely did that. And but to get to there's 3 specific mountain tops or mesas that are flat tops of these mountains that overlook the sea, that they grow the wines on. You won't know how to get up there to the top of those mesas if you don't know how to do it. So it's not just something you drive up to.
Now, Tetramythos, actually, you can't drive on it. It's on the slopes of Mount Aroania, and it's off the road. It's easy to get to, and there's a good sign, so it's well that we did. This winery focuses on monovarietal, so there are no blends.
Yeah, that was another interesting thing I thought about this wine.
And minimal intervention, so more natural wines, really beautifully made. We tasted probably about
13 or 14
here.
Yeah.
Some standouts again was the Roditas, very different from that of Rouvalis, Roditas Natur, and then there was a Retsina and Amphora, aged in Amphora, that was terrific. Now we had Retsina closer to Athens and Mesogaya, It's a wonderful wine. It had a bad reputation a long time ago, but it's, through modern winemaking and changes, it's really coming back, and we highly recommend trying it. And I thought it was fantastic. Really fantastic. They also had a beautiful, expressive, my notes, Malagosia, very aromatic. That's a very aromatic wine. And if you like them, I would highly, they had a Muscat. The Retsina I liked because I love the combination of melon and that pine, because red's pine and red apple and mint. It's really terrific. They also have, they also do some international. He was not big on Riesling. He was big on other ones.
No, well, the only one that we found that makes Riesling was
Rouvalis.
Because it's a personal passion of Theodora's. So Tetramythos, Rhoditis, Malagosia, Muscat Blanc are their whites for the most part.
Yeah.
And then there was one that they made. Another interesting thing about this region, you'll find little pockets of places that a grape is grown, but it's maybe the only place in the world that it's grown.
It's rescued.
Yeah,
it's rescued or being experimental.
It's a brought back from extinction grape. And one of those we tasted at Tetramythos was called Agripiotis.
Excuse our Greek.
Exactly. Agripiotis, and they're the only one that makes this wine. So they're obviously the only one that grows it. And they make it into an orange wine. It was very interesting. It was again a white wine. It was very lean. It had a linear character to it.
As many orange wines are.
Yes, that is true.
They're not our most favorite, but when we do get one we like, we're happy. We're pleased.
So yeah, I like that wine. And then, but he made a number of different types of Rhoditis. He made an orange wine out of Rhoditis. He made a single vineyard, obviously, wine out of Rhoditis as well. He made natural style Rhoditis, but not orange as well. And then the Retsina, which he made, was also made from Rhoditis. And he was but he does it in amphora.
Most Retsina, which is a native grape of Mesogaia.
Right. So, and Panos was the first winemaker to actually put Retsina into amphora to age. And he kind of takes it to the next level. He actually hand harvests the pine resin off the local trees on the mountain that the winery is located on, to add to his Retsina. So he gives it that extra level of terroir. So it's a terroir-driven Retsina,
and unctuous,
as opposed to many Retsinas that are on the market, especially if you're tasting them in major winemaking regions. That make a lot of wine, they don't have that terroir. They're bringing in the resin to add to the wine.
I'd like to try more Retsina.
This was a real terroir driven.
Yeah, Retsina,
and it was very good.
I'd like to try more. Retsina is a style of wine. It's not the grape. So in Mesogaia is the Savatiano grape, and here was Rhoditis. I think what I learned from this whole experience, David, is that Rhoditis is a very versatile wine grape.
Very versatile and very good.
Yeah, and I can't wait to try it in other areas of Greece when we return.
It's interesting. We brought a bottle of the Rouvalis Rhoditis back with us that had been aged on the lees and whatnot. It was a very rich and ripe style of Rhoditis that Theodora made, and we took it to dinner with us to a friend's house last week, and everybody brought wine, and one of the other guests brought a couple of bottles of Chassagne Montrachet, and we poured that next to the Rhoditis, and everybody was going crazy over the Rhoditis. Yeah, more so than the Chassagne Montrachet.
Well, one of the reasons is we love a good Chassagne Montrachet, but it was like,
who doesn't?
We loved it, but it's a Chardonnay, and this wine Rhoditis just is like a wow, because you really do feel like you're tasting Greece and something really special. Agreed. Because we don't get it as much, which underscoring as we go through this, we're trying to help you go out and try new wines because we love it. So Tetramythos gets like 12,000 visitors a year. So it's doing something
that's
right.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now let's talk about the red wines, because they have a grape that they're Mavro Calavritino. Right. and that is a red variety.
Yes, and you
They
can
make a
they
rosé.
actually make a rosé and a light red wine out of it. And
Mhm.
the red that they made of the Mavro Calavratino was kind of light and almost like a chillable red, right? And
Yeah.
in my eyes,
Which you need in Greece.
and it had a lot of characters of Pinot Noir in it as
Mhm.
well. I was going crazy over that one.
I liked it
So
better
good.
than the Pinot when we tasted later. You have a wow by it. I'm looking up at his notes because mine are down.
Yeah,
And I like that wine quite a bit because when you're in Greece, we drank a lot of white wine because it was hot, but you do want a chilled red also. It's just what to, but he also did an Viticulture Nature. Now that grape is usually in down toward Mantinea and Nemea. It's their big star grape, but he does it here as
Mhm.
well, and that's a dark garnet colored macerated wine, very full and grippy. You wrote one of the few red wines that we really loved and tasted because we didn't drink a lot of red wine on this trip.
Yeah.
We were white wine focused because of the heat. What was the other one he did that was really brilliant?
the Mavro Calavratino, the Agirtico,
And that Laurier Noir.
and then there's a Laurier Noir, which is basically a dry red Mavrodaphne, but they can't call it Mavrodaphne.
So that's his. So that's Tetramythos. So it's Sigello at Rouvalis,
So-
but Laurier Noir.
The Laurier Noir is their play on black laurel, which is
Right.
what Mavrodaphne means.
Right.
But they also had a wine called Volitza,
Mm-hmm.
and what was interesting about this was that it's another one of those forgotten grape wines. Only 1.2 hectares,
Mm-hmm.
so about 3 acres
Yeah.
of this wine, of these grapes, are grown in a single vineyard. Very old vineyard, and they're the only producer of it, and they do it via carbonic maceration. So it was a really interesting wine. I don't think this will
Savory.
probably come to the U.S.
No, it's very savory.
because there's so little of it made, but it's a very interesting wine.
We have our friend Mary Taylor, who is a wonderful negociant, and she likes crunchy, grippy wines. I'd say this was a crunchy, grippy wine.
It was good.
And shout out to Mary. I would say, in summary, Tetramythos are cerebral wines. They're well-made,
Yeah.
cerebral wines. You will definitely have kind of some aha moments when you taste them. And again, monovarietal, no blends. That's the philosophy.
Yeah.
But what do we bring home? Olive oil, because they also do beautiful monovarietal
Well, we brought a couple.
day-grown olive oil.
We did bring a couple of bottles of
did.
wine home with us
We
from
did.
the winery as well.
We did.
But we were also lucky enough to be gifted a bottle of their olive oil, which is also estate grown and monovarietal.
Yeah, I gotta tell you,
from a
this is the winery. I wish I had a soup. I wish we had a separate Vingard release because I would have just stocked it with wines. They were really. The good news is the wines are available in the United States,
Yes.
and if you go to the website, you will actually see the importers, including Dionysius, which is really one of the top Greek wine importers in the United States. So Tetramythos is one definitely to check out, particularly if you're into those crunchy, natural, minimal intervention wines.
Yeah. But depending on where you are in the United States, it'll have different importers. But I think really the one that we know is Dionysius.
So the third producer was very interesting for so many reasons.
Before we move on, I want to talk about their sweet wine, or I like to call them stickies.
The sticky,
right?
okay.
Which was a Van Semidu 2017 wine. It was a late harvest sweet wine, but it spent 7 years in almost 30-year-old barrels. So it was a really, and the barrels were barriques, so they were 225 liter barrels. In 29-year-old barriques, it spent 7 years. And then how they made it was they basically took the juice and they put it in the barrel and let it do its thing. So 39-month spontaneous fermentation. Okay, so that took over 3 years to complete fermentation. And it was made from 100% Mavrodaphne. So it's a red sweet wine, very high acidity, 18% alcohol, but not fortified. So they basically slowed it down and they created that spontaneous ferment was able to overcome the kill off that alcohol tends to do of a wine and get to 18% over time by that slow fermentation and created this beautiful, beautiful wine.
You note say chocolate and fruit. I just
yeah.
love that combination.
Yeah.
Chocolate and fruit. Yeah, I love the term sticky wine.
Give me more.
Yeah, yeah. You've always loved sticky wines.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. We always
Dessert wines
bring
are great.
Dessert wines. We never call them dessert wines. Sticky wines, sweet, because you may not want them with dessert.
No.
But we like bringing them. And that same dinner party that we went to with the Rouvalis Roditas, we bought an old a sweet Crete wine from one of our wines of Crete.
Oh yes, so the 2006 Caravatakis,
Oh my God!
which we've had in our cellar for quite some time. I thought it was a great time to
It's
open.
fabulous.
Yeah.
We'll go to Crete. We'll do something at Crete. But back to Aigialeia.
So let's talk about the third winery.
So this is interesting. So this winery has what?
This winery is up the mountain about 2 miles from Tetramythos.
Yes.
And this one is called Mega Spileo.
So we went the same day. It's also the name. We got to get into this. It's in a geopark called the Chelmos Virakias National Geopark.
Mm-hmm.
It is a protected region, and it is the name Mega Spileo is also the name of one of the world's oldest continually occupied monasteries, dating to 362 AD.
In the 300s AD. That's a long time.
So this is where the stories are separate and then intersect, just briefly. So the Greek Orthodox Mega Spileo Monastery, which is still open and you can visit, and we did after our wine tasting, was established in 362 AD by 2 monks from Thessaloniki, Simon and Theodore. They were brothers, and it became a protected monastery. Many, many monks there had a thriving business, and they cultivated vineyards and made wine like many monks do around the world. Dom Perignon, most famous. So over 2 millennia, there were many wars, world wars, Greek national wars, invasions, on and on. We learned a lot about war in Greek history on this trip. 4 destructive fires.
The most recent in the 1920s, which burned the monastery to the ground, and they had to rebuild it. So the monastery is actually built into a cliff.
Yes.
So it's built on the front of a piece of the cliff where apparently some miracle happened.
It was a miracle with a what's a relic of the Virgin Mary.
Where they found that's right. They found a relic of
which is still
something
there
to do with the Virgin Mary, and it's still there
in a cave.
In the cave, and you have to walk through the monastery to get to the cave, which is behind the monastery, and then once you get there, there's obviously a chapel, et cetera, that you can walk into. It's very old and very historic, over almost 2,000 years of history.
We almost
from
missed
when this
the cave
monastery was started,
because we don't read Greek, and it's free to walk in. Although a monk came out and tried to shake us down for money, but I said no. But everybody needs it now. But you keep going, and it says cave, and I'm like, can we go in there? And they said sure, because there's a gift shop, and the cave in there is that relic. It's actually quite amazing, and there's some beautiful artwork that was created documenting the history of the monastery, the fire, and the rebuild. Highly recommend going. And here's the catcher before we get to the winery. Here's the catcher. There was this really pretty building atop a cliff, a little walk path
looked like a little French chateau.
And it's a guest house.
Exactly. So we found out you can actually stay there.
1909 guest house.
Yeah.
And it's booked a lot. You can get it at booking.com.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. It looks nice.
Should have stayed there.
It's just right on a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
next time.
Yeah, next time. So definitely go to Mega Spileo Monastery, but this is how it connects with the winery. So over time, the monk population declined, and there was they had money issues, so they basically let the vineyards go fallow. There was no one to tend to them, and in 1999, more brothers again, Jonas and Theodoros Anastasiou, who owned the Cavino Wine Group,
which is I think the largest wine production facility in Greece.
Right. So big company. They acquired,
and they make wine all over Greece, and they have
bulk and otherwise,
and they have wineries all over Greece. But they do have a facility in the Peloponnese, which is where these wines are actually made.
Right.
But the Mega Spileo Wine Group acquired the estate of the monastery and the vineyards and the ancient winemaking facility, and refurbished it all to create a modern winery out of it. And
so they didn't acquire it; it's a lease. the monks still, fall, but it's leased. And they planted and established the Mega Spileo estate.
Mhm.
Like the other wineries we visited, the vineyards are hither and thither and on different slopes, and also in this amphitheater-like setting where the actual tasting room and winery, as you can call it, is, even though the wines we know are made elsewhere. There is a replica. I don't know if it's an original or a replica of the Palmetto. They said it was original.
Well,
and they
may be
refurbished
original,
it.
they've definitely refurbished the building.
Yeah, so you go there, and that's interesting because they're actually, this is it. So this winery, first of all, the winemaker who is in charge of it is, what is his name? I've got it in here somewhere. I'm going to find it in a minute. Spiros is his first name. It's in here somewhere. Anyway, I'll get to it. But this is like the think tank. Spiros, Cirrus. Here it is, Cirrus. And he likes to experiment. This is an experimental winery. You call them think tank.
Yeah.
There's like over 20 SKUs we try. There's a lot.
They make almost 30 wines there because it's really kind of an experimental vineyard where he gets to try new things, and
including working in that palmetto that I don't know what you call in Greece, but in Italy, Sicily, it's palmetto, and wines made in that old
open top concrete fermenter tank.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And we tasted so many wines there. This is where we tasted the sparkling wines called Mystic. It was the only sparkling wines we tasted in this area.
Yeah, and they were pretty good too. I liked them. They make a couple of different sparkling wines, but they do a lot of, as I said, a lot of trial and error experimentation. So they grow grapes from different parts of Greece as well, up at elevation, because the vineyard and the winery is probably at about 900 meters, so it's pretty high. And so they grow Sauvignon Blanc. They grow
Vidiano.
They grow Vidiano, which is actually a Cretan variety, which we know a bit about. The Sirtico, of course, which is
Santorini,
which is from Santorini. And then they do Malagusia and other one.
Did we have any Roditas here?
I don't think we did.
I don't. You know why? So, and head enologist, let me correct. Stelios Cirrus. He oversees all the brands, and I don't think he was big on Rhodita. We had dinner with him, and he talked about the grapes he's passionate with. He's thinking of planting some Gruner Veltliner. He's really into experimenting, which is kind of interesting given the elevation and the north-facing vineyards to see how they react here. He is very big on Pinot Noir and Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, they made a couple of different Cabernets. They made obviously a Pinot Noir grown at 1,000 meters elevation. Then they also had a interesting indigenous red called Vertzami.
Really fabulous.
Vertzami, which we haven't tried anywhere else.
Well, it's made in the what's the name of the one? Look at my notes. It's from an Ionian island.
Yeah,
it's where it's.
I liked it.
We loved it. It's only 1,000 bottles.
I said in my notes, I would drink this.
Yeah, it's more what that the island is Lefkada. Greek has 1,000 islands, so this is the Ionian island of Lefkada. Yeah. So he's cultivating vines from grapes that flourish and are better known other areas of Greece and elsewhere. And example, the Vidiano, the Sirtico, the Vertzami. And then, the Pinot Noir was different. It didn't taste like a Pinot Noir we're used to. It wasn't
traditional.
It was not traditional. And you have to like it or not. He loved this Cabernet. It also tasted very different. Their big seller is they have a red blend, which is their heavy hitting wine. And that one is the Estate Grand Cave.
Which is a Mavra Daphne blend.
Right.
Probably with a little bit of Cabernet in it.
They have 3 different levels of wines. They have the heritage wines, which are the ones being made in the ancient wine facility. They have, and I don't know what their main line is, but then there's the iconic wines as well. So there's different wines at different price points. And really prolific, also available in the United States. We would love to have gone and tasted more wines, but by then we were kind of spent, and we had to drive back to Athens. It's a long drive.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
there's obviously a lot more wine made at the Cavino
Mhm.
facility because that's where they actually make the Mega Spileo wines.
Right.
Anyways, that said, the wines were good. They made a bunch of different stuff. This was, as I said, these are the think tank wines. I know they have a lot more of the commercially available wines at the Cavino facility, which is actually down on the coast, so very easy to get to. This not so easy to get to, and much more remote.
What was interesting about
Love
Celius, though,
Yeah.
he had a big personality. He loved to talk. It was a little hard to understand, but we loved talking to him. We had dinner with him. Wonderful little seaside place in Aigialeia, and he talked about his passion and how much he loves to experiment. This is a fun project for him. I don't think they're looking at it as a big money maker as much as a passion winery.
It's a beautiful remote winery.
Mm-hmm. You got to go to the Mega Spileo website, and we'll have all of this on the Connected Table, Substack, and blog. We encourage you to go because they all welcome visitors by appointment. They are remote, so you will need a car or you will ask for transportation. Now, Mega Spileo, Cavino Group also owns the hotel where we stayed, Mario Suites Hotel, and they do wine trips. So the Mario is a good place to base if you want to go specific to these regions, and they'll arrange wine tasting experiences. There's other things to do in the year. We do recommend going to this monastery. It's extraordinary. There was a railroad at the time when we were there. It had stopped due to concerns about landslides.
Yes, so that's not in service at this time, but it's a very historic old railroad that went up the river valleys. There's the Gulf of Corinth goes east to west, and the river valleys that come up from the Peloponnese go south to north to empty into the Gulf of Corinth. So they're very steep valleys, and all the growing takes place on the top of them, on the mesas on top. The one railroad goes up one of the valleys, but of course it's closed.
We would have taken it.
I would have. Yeah, we actually wanted to take it, and then we found out it was closed. But there's also other things to do there. If you go in the wintertime, there's actually a ski mountain.
Yes.
So you can ski in the Peloponnese in the wintertime. Yeah. And there's a long running ski mountain that's about a half an hour inland from the monastery. So
skiing and wine tasting in the Peloponnese.
You can go past the monastery, and there's a very famous ski mountain out there as well.
There is also hiking, preferably in the fall, not in the heat. There's some historic museums, beautiful monasteries, and of course, further on down, this area has beautiful strips of beach and wonderful seaside restaurants. We had yet another Greek salad, an amazing calamari at our seaside lunch with Theodora, and it was wonderful. So an interesting place to visit. And again, less package tours and more individual explorer type place.
Yeah, this is a place where you want to get in your car and go explore.
I'm glad we did. I bounded back and forth about not wanting to rent a car. I'm so glad we did, because on the way back, we stopped in Corinth, the ancient ruins and former town of Corinth. And the museum there is fabulous. They have a museum that has so many artifacts and so much history. And the most amazing thing is this museum was robbed. Somebody attacked the guard in the 20th century and stole many of these artifacts, and that through an international network of crime stoppers and police and investors, they were able to gather back about 75% of these artifacts, which is fairly amazing. But what we learned in the process of this from talking to different people is that artifact and ancient thievery, artifacts and ancient is actually rampant in this area, and they have to be very, very careful. But if you do go up here, we strongly say stop in Corinth, go to the museum, take your time. It's easy to get to. We didn't eat at any of the nearby restaurants, but I'm sure they were fine. Yeah. And then we headed back to Athens, and that was it. Yeah. So
it was a beautiful 3 days we spent in that area.
Yeah, that's about all you need.
Yeah, it was very pretty.
Yeah.
We could have expanded it to do more, but we'd have to go further afield.
Well, we could have gone to Patras and done Patras, which is a big city and port. If you're into looking at big city, we don't know anything other than it's a big city port, and I'm sure there's great food and shopping, and never Patras. But we were on a very specific schedule and we needed to get back to Athens because we were going back to the airport the next day. But if you are traveling to Greece, this is what I learned. We planned our trip ourselves. Don't bite off more than you can chew. You know, you want to go to the Greek islands, factor in the fact that the ferries are on their time and not your time. And traffic in and out of Athens, crazy.
It's a
Pace yourself.
it's an intense and complicated country to navigate, I think, but it's wonderful.
Pick an area.
Yeah.
And
Don't try to do too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Greek islands. One day we'll go back and maybe Ionian. We'll do, you know, we focused on Hydra where we had
The
a wedding and it was 5 days and we've written about that. We focused on Athens and then we did this one area of Peloponnese. And I think as we've become more well-traveled and older in life, we embrace slow travel when, particularly it's on our time and dime, we don't want to rush anymore. We want to end the show by saying, take your time when you travel to explore, meet locals, savor that area. You don't know what it's going to be like down the road. And right now, Greece, like many places in Europe, are being affected by wildfires. So our hope and prayers, everybody over there is fine. You can find more information on these wineries on the Connected Table newsletter, Substack, and .com. And of course, you can watch a rebroadcast of the show anytime on the Connected Table TV and on 65 podcast channels. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. We want to again thank Sophia Purpura for the Greek Wine Federation for her advice. It's very kind of her. We're sorry we didn't get to have dinner with her, but it was wonderful. And explore. And what did they say in Greece? Yes, I David learned a little bit of Greek.
A little bit of Greek.
Anyway, as always, step outside your comfort zone to eat, drink, explore, be inspired with us, and always stay insatiably curious. Thank you.